So I guess we got even more new leaked Diddy party footage. You guys remember everything to do with the baby oil, right? I mean, how could you forget? Well, allegedly in this clip, you can hear somebody talking
all about the money.
The New York Post becomes the first news outlet to actually admit to seeing these Diddy freak-off tapes and providing some details.
Girl, you won't believe what Demi Moore was up to at Diddy's party. Word on the street is she was living it up like it was her last night on Earth. And we have the receipts to prove it. Remember when Demi was all about that calm, zen lifestyle? Well, it seems she traded her yoga mat for the dance floor. And we're here to spill all the tea on how she went from Hollywood royalty to full-blown party animal in just one night. Are you ready for this?
And this is just my opinion. Again, this is not a fact. I don't think I'm speculating here. If the feds do a raid on someone so prominent, so influential, and as well rich, right, who has lawyers, money for lawyers, they wouldn't do that unplanned and just because they're trying to find something. I think there was definitely probable cause, as they say. A lot of people are speculating and just say, okay, they if they go all at the same time in all three houses, right, New York, Miami, and LA, they have to have something on him. There has to be something, but you never know until he is officially charged, right?
Right. And to be clear, we are speculating here, but obviously if he has been working with the feds as an informant and now they're showing up to his house with these massive raids, that either means they're turning on him or they're just doing this for show. I mean, what do you think is happening? Again, speculative, completely opinion.
Right. So this is just what I heard, that no one knew whose house they were raiding. Actually came out of Jaguar Wright. She actually talked about that. No one, the feds didn't know whose house they were raiding, so no one could be informed, or he could not be informed that this is really happening, right? At the same time, this lawsuit that he did against De Leon, or this big liquor company, they're very influential people, and maybe they just wanted to show him, listen, if you come against us, we're gonna go and ruin you, and as well maybe just to retrieve the tapes that he has in his house, allegedly, right? I mean, those are the tapes that have a lot of people on it that he could blackmail and
Girl, do you remember when Demi Moore was all about that green juice life, sipping kale smoothies, and hitting hot yoga like it was her 9 to 5? Well, honey, those days are long gone. Let me paint you a picture of Demi rolling up to Diddy's party, and trust me, she wasn't carrying a yoga mat. Picture this. Paparazzi flashes popping off like fireworks as Demi steps out of her ride. She's looking like a full-on snack, serving face and body like it's nobody's business. But wait a hot minute, this isn't the Zen Demi we know. She left that at home with her crystals and essential oils. I got the inside scoop from some eyewitnesses, and let me tell you, they were shook. Demi didn't just make an entrance. She made asterisk statement asterisk, one partygoer said. I thought I was seeing things. Demi Moore walked in like she owned the place. Her energy was off the charts. Another added, the moment she stepped in, the whole vibe of the party changed. It was like everyone got an extra shot of tequila just from looking at her. And let's talk about what Demi was wearing, because it sure wasn't any yoga pants. She showed up in a little black dress that had jaws hitting the floor. It was tight in all the right places, just short enough to make people do a double take, and paired with some killer heels that could probably double as weapons. Her hair was wild and free, like she'd just stepped off a beach. And don't even get me started on the accessories, dripping in diamonds like she raided Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry box. The moment Demi hit that dance floor, it was game over for everyone else. She moved like she had something to prove, and honey, consider it proven. 1 minute she's doing the cha-cha with some young hotties. The next she's leading a conga line through the VIP section. People were practically tripping over themselves just to be in her orbit. Someone even said, I've never seen Demi like this. It's like she's possessed by the spirit of Studio 54.
So it's interesting because he keeps crying it's a witch hunt, but I guess there is potentially a theory where the feds are in and have been aware and know, and maybe are trying to gather all the intel to know, well, what do you actually know and have on us? It could be what's actually happening here. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's a witch hunt. In the end of the day, there's so many years that people have try to talk about him and already said the truth, and it's always the same story. So how is it that so many different people from different artists, girlfriends, and so on, affiliates, say the same thing about him? So something has to be true about it, right? And I can just say that when I was around him, again, he has never mistreated me in any type of way at all. Again, we did not have much contact or anything like that. But I have seen his outbursts, and then certain things that I have heard from very close friends of mine that were even closer to him, right? Things that he would do. So it all makes sense, you know?
I'm glad you said that, because I want to get into these outbursts and these personal experiences. But when I even say that, I just mean it could be a witch hunt in his mind if he's friendly with the feds who are helping to cover up some of the operation, is what I'm just trying to get at. And he's now crying witch hunt like he's a victim, when in reality, there might be corruption in the FBI for all we know, or whatever is going on. There could be something shady going on, or maybe they were just using him to get to something else. There's so much more to unpack here, but let's get into the sort of stuff you know, because you've been to the parties, right? I guess my first question is like, what are these parties like? Are there two kinds of parties? It feels like he puts some parties on for show to look classy and bring the celebrities to, but then the parties evolve into more debaucherous things. Do you have any experience at either of those? And is that assumption correct?
Well, I mean, I have more been to like album release party, The Last Train to Paris, that famous party with Kevin Hart, Trey Songz, and so on. I was at that party. That was really just a really nice party that he did. If people did drugs or not, I didn't see it, but I'm sure that it happened. But that was not like a party as a freak off, as he calls it, right?
Yep.
I was never part of that. Although I have provided girls to his affiliate to go to certain parties, but it was girls, right? And in the end of the day, those girls don't tell me who they're seeing or what really happened. It's just very discreet. So yeah, they were paid and they went on their way.
So you have no firsthand experience, or at least you're not sharing any firsthand experience of any of these sort of freak offs or extreme things that we're hearing in all these allegations.
But the real kicker? Demi's first drink of the night. And no, it wasn't kombucha. Our girl strode right up to the bar, locked eyes with the bartender, and ordered a double shot of top-shelf tequila. And let me tell you, she didn't sip it like some delicate flower. Nah, Demi threw it back like it was the last drop of water in the Sahara. The bartender was so impressed, he immediately started mixing a special cocktail just for her. They're calling it Demi's detox, but trust me, nothing is detoxing about it, if you know what I mean. By this point, everyone at the party was buzzing about Demi's transformation. It was like watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon. Except this butterfly was ready to party till sunrise. People were even placing bets on what she'd do next. And let me tell you, no one could have predicted the turn this night was about to take. Because, honey, the party had only just begun. Demi was just warming up, and the night was still young. If you thought her entrance was iconic, just wait until you hear what she did next. The streets are talking, and baby, they're saying Demi Moore is back in the game, and she's playing for keeps. Next voice. If you thought Demi's entrance was wild, honey, that was just the appetizer. When the DJ dropped that beat, our girl Demi turned into a whole different animal. The dance floor became her jungle, and she was the queen of this concrete safari. Now, let me spill some asterisk piping hot asterisk tea about who Demi was getting close to, girl. You're going to want to sit down for this one. Remember that young hottie she was cha-chaying with earlier? Turns out he wasn't just some random party boy. Sources are whispering it was none other than Zac Efron. Can you believe it? Demi was getting her groove on with Troy Bolton himself. And let me tell you, asterisk High School Musical asterisk never looked this steamy. The second that beat hit, it was like Demi was possessed by the spirit of dance itself. She was moving in ways that would make Jolo jealous. 1 minute she's doing the salsa, the next she's twerking like her life depended on it. People were looking around like, is that really Demi Moore? Or did her wild twin sister show up? Because this was not the Demi we're used to seeing at fancy Hollywood galas. Oh no.
Because the details in these are pretty crazy. Let's go through what the New York Post is alluding. The freak-offs coincided with some of the biggest star-studded parties at the height of his fame, they say, with at least 3 wild parties taking place hours after major events, according to a trove of video files and documents viewed exclusively by the Post, which I can confirm. I haven't seen any other news outlet that actually has a legal department that can get sued, like the Post, actually admit to seeing them. Even TMZ and other outlets haven't gone there yet. These clips suggest that, we'll call it the big O, the O word, which federal prosecutors say sometimes involved women being, coerced, etc., to perform things, hours-long acts, were happening just below the surface as Diddy rubbed elbows with the biggest names in Hollywood music and sports. Now, again, they're saying this stuff happened at the same time, but they're not connecting any celebrities to these parties yet. And they make a point to do that again later in the article. In the early morning hours of August 29, 2005, the Diddy after party from the MTV VMAs was still going strong. Actress Eva Longoria chatted with Fergie in one corner, Ice-T, Quincy Jones, Jeff Gordon, Paris Hilton mingled with guests. They put a lot of pictures in here with these celebrities to almost allude to, see, they know. But it's clear they didn't, judging by this article. Combs had hosted the VMAs and the after party was the hottest ticket in town that night. But one by one, the celebrities left the party, and there is no indication they knew about or were invited to what happens next. That's key here, guys, because again, were they involved in criminal behavior, coercing, threatening, all that stuff? That's what we need to know. If they were just having a party with Diddy and doing private acts, it's really none of our business. Now, I know some of you still want to know, but we're not going to tell you that. And that's what my previous video was about. Soon, the event moved from the inside of Space nightclub to Diddy's mansion. From there, it appears to have descended into a raucous ex-party, according to photos and videos viewed by the Post. By then, all the stars appeared to have gone, except for one, Diddy. They were replaced by a cast of fit young men and women, all in various stages of undress. Now, were they there against their will? That's what we need to figure out. Unclear. The Post article doesn't really allude to that. They do mention this, though, as two white men took turns having relations with a young black woman who clearly had, let's say, substance of a certain color under her nose. Take that as you will. Diddy could be seen in the background wearing a white t-shirt with the words, "God's the greatest," the same shirt he's seen here, that he wore at the VMAs after party in various clips in the media. In another clip from that night, a couple has loud relations on a table as a group of well-dressed people stood around. Now, again, was this consensual? That's going to be the main point here. The Post doesn't get into much detail, or seems to allude that they don't know. It seems like they must have. I assume the Post would write it if they sensed otherwise, but who knows? The videos reviewed by the Post are part of the same archive that includes footage that appears to show Diddy having relations with a major younger male A-list star. That video has been shopped around for sale to news outlets by more than one purported seller. Now, again, videos reviewed are part of the same archive that includes, does that mean they saw it themselves? It's a little unclear to me what actually they're saying here, and I don't know.
Let me break down these dance moves for you, because your girl was X and then some. She was dropping it low and bringing it up slow, spinning, dipping, and throwing out body rolls that could hypnotize a snake. At one point, she even busted out the robot, yes, but make it asterisk, sexy asterisk, and don't even get me started on those hair flips. Bianca herself would have been taking notes.
No. I mean, again, I just wasn't part of it, but I could
Oh, okay,
see.
but you've heard.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, again, I have girls provided to go to these parties, but I'm not going to ask them details because that's just something that's discretion, and that's on them.
But was
right?
there ever any this went too far? Because obviously consenting adults can be consenting adults, but from some of these allegations, there's stuff where it's like, whoa, there's not consent, and there's people not of the right age. Did you ever hear any rumblings of that?
No, because in the end of the day, everyone that has dealt with me in business or any type of way, anywhere where my girls went, it was definitely consent and they were definitely of age. Whatever happens outside of that, I would never be part of it. But I could see that happen. Absolutely.
Doesn't surprise you, but you have no experience with it. Understood. Okay. And then so regarding the freak offs, you're not under, they are believable to you, but you don't have any proof of how bad they've gotten. Now, all right, got you. Your experience with Diddy, though, you have met him. He seems like a nice guy, but then he also seems to have these outbursts. Have you experienced either of those scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he would be happy in his party mode in the way that everyone knows him, like being the king of parties. And then he would turn around and just have outbursts and go crazy at everyone around him, right? More like staff, I would say. If he gets mad at the staff, then they're gonna feel it.
What, like, is it a lack of control? Is it just a power trip? Like, what is when you witness that in the moment, where do you think it comes from?
So let's say something had to be done and it wasn't done, then he would just go over the top, angry, crazy, throwing things around, and people have to deal with that.
You talk about earlier, the first part, we alluded to it, but the taping of everything. So that had been something you had heard that was obviously around the circles that people sort of knew and expected. Have you seen the NDA? Did you have to sign any of those NDAs that he provided?
No, because I was always with the head of security and some people that are around him as well. Of course, I met Harf and a bunch of other like executives from Bad Boy, but there was never really like that. And again, I think I was not really the person they were probably going after, because I was literally at that time between 20 and 24. That was like the time when I was around them. So I was not really a person that they would be afraid of, right? I mean, I was a so-called immigrant.
Right. They could probably easy to threaten you based on the activities you're doing for them. And obviously, so that's probably a little bit more, they felt safer around you.
Right. And at the same time, you have to see, they counted on the fact that I will be snitching, but I have not. And that's usually how it is, because obviously the feds come with a whole case against me, and they were right about it in the end of the day. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I was clearly guilty. So if I would snitch, then I couldn't say nothing about them, right? But I just decided not to snitch, because that's not really the way how, if you mess up, you have to stand tall in that sense, you just have to deal with the consequences. And but I think with a lot of people they probably dealt with that have snitched, because they are big, there's just a long time that you probably have to sit in prison,
Yeah.
And then those people can't talk about it, because obviously they have been rats themselves.
The crowd, baby, they were losing their minds. Nobody, and I mean nobody saw this coming. You had A-listers with their jaws on the floor, influencers forgetting to record for their stories, and even the waitstaff frozen in their tracks. I overheard one celeb, who shall remain nameless, say, "If this is what Demi's been hiding all these years, we've been seriously missing out." The energy in that room was electric, and Demi was the lightning rod. But hold on to your wigs, because Demi wasn't done yet. Just when everyone thought she couldn't take it up another notch, our girl decided to level up. The music's pumping, the crowd's going wild, and what does Demi do? She makes a beeline for the DJ booth. People start parting like the Red Sea, all eyes on Demi as she climbs up there like she's scaling Mount Everest in stilettos. Now, I know you're wondering what happened next, and trust me, it's better than anything you're imagining. Demi grabs that mic like she's been waiting her whole life for this moment. The DJ cuts the music, the room goes silent, and everyone's holding their breath. And then, I kid you not, Demi belts out the opening lines to It's Raining Men like she's auditioning for American Idol The crowd goes absolutely bananas People are climbing on tables, throwing their hands in the air, singing along at the top of their lungs. It was like a scene out of a movie, but better, because it was real life, honey. But don't think this was the end of Demi's wild night. Oh no, this party was just hitting its stride. Our girl was on fire, and she wasn't about to let that flame die down anytime soon. The night was still young, and Demi? Well, she was just getting started. Stay tuned, because what comes next is going to make your head spin faster than Demi on that dance floor.
Where your mugshots on your social, you wear it now sort of proudly. I mean, that experience, what was that like for you?
Well, the thing is this, it's not that I'm proud of what I have done. This picture is before I got released and the experience that I went through. In the beginning, which I think most people do, they felt like, oh, yes, I got betrayed, but it was my fault because I have done what I have done, right? So I deserve to go to prison. And in that experience in prison, I grew up really quick and learned, okay, if I have another chance to be free, because it's not nice to be in prison, not nice to be in Rikers Island or in the New York prison in general, I will do everything the right way and never do something illegal again, which I stand by. You know, I have built up another business. I have I just became a mom, which was very great. So in that time in prison, I just had to learn. So this is why that picture is not me being proud, but me being able to change, right? When I look back, this is 10 years ago I got released, right? So in prison itself, especially as a foreigner, right? Yeah, they say the new black, orange is the new black. That is like it's not as similar at all. Okay, it's way worse. It's harsher. If you're a foreigner, they want to try medications out on you. They definitely always want to put you in lock. There's a lot of violence going on, and you have to move very smart and not be loud, you know. And the good thing is, I'm not someone that's looking for conflict. I'm not really like a big fighter and stuff. I just had built up my friends and my alliances there in prison, and that way we were able to survive together, you know, for these 2 years.
You also, I know you heard stories of Cassie, right, at the time, about what her experiences. Do you believe Cassie? He settled that lawsuit so quick. What are your thoughts on the sort of Diddy Cassie situation?
Well, I have met her before. She's a very beautiful, nice person. Obviously, I was not someone that was a lot around her, but when I was in the studio at Daddy's house and stuff, she was there. I actually have hooked her up with another artist once to get on a song, and then somehow it just didn't come through. But I did not know all the things that happened. Now it makes sense that she was so quiet and looking down on the floor and stuff, right? But I definitely believe it, and I think there was a lot of abuse going on. Just from the stories that I heard from friends that actually were there, right? Because I wasn't there personally, but from people that I know really well, close sources that have told stories how he would treat her in front of other people. That just shows probably in private it was even worse, you know?
Do you believe other celebrities have been complicit in all this, and do you think that they should be worried with this Fed investigation happening?
Yeah, I'm sure, because, you know, I mean, he's a big person in the industry. He's a mogul, as they call him, right? So people want to be part of it. They don't want to be lame, and maybe just look the other way, which humans trying, it's just a human thing to do, right? If you know someone, if you like someone, if you look up to them and they see they do wrong, a lot of people want to look the other way. And just to be part of whatever they could do for you, you know? So I definitely think a lot of people should. I mean, people who are implicated, they should be afraid of it. Yeah, if they were part of it, for sure.
I know and thank you for watching. You've told us you've watched the show, so I imagine you've followed the allegations, everything we've been covering. But Little Rod, there's been obviously some conflicting thoughts on him and the way his lawyers filed it. Do you believe the Little Rod allegations and what's in there?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's that old trick of like, oh, you're looking up to that Stevie J, right? As a producer, let me show you what he does. Like all this mind tricking of thinking of people, you have to be this way to make it in Hollywood. And you have to do all these things that you really don't want to do because your talent is not enough. You have to do all these things. The way he said it, it makes completely sense that he tried to really mess with his head, you know? He messed with his head and he said, look, if you do this, you're gonna get this, and all these things. And it's just known in the industry, right? I mean, again, I was in the music industry for a little bit, and I have met some great people, but a lot of it is really just who you know and what you can do for them, right? I don't really believe, yeah, a lot of people who made it big, they probably had to do something for it. Not saying they're not talented at all. I'm just saying mostly people in Hollywood, they had to pay their dues.
Well, another person who got sort of snitched almost in a way, or almost was this Brandon Paul person who apparently is his alleged dealer and was his mule, who was arrested in the Miami airport for a period of time. What are your? I'm sure he's watching this stuff, paying attention. He's probably terrified of snitching on anybody. But what is your advice to him as someone who's sort of now in a way more complicated situation than even you were, dealing with Diddy?
Now, we all know Demi's got moves, but can she hold her liquor like she holds a tune? The answer might just shock you. When our girls sidled up to that bar, even the most seasoned partiers weren't ready for what was about to go down. Let's just say by the end of the night, Demi had some A-listers looking like lightweights. Girl, let me tell you, Demi was throwing back drinks like they were going out of style. After that mic drop performance, she sauntered over to the bar, and I swear, The bartender's jaw hit the floor faster than a bass drop. His eyes were wider than dinner plates as Demi leaned in and ordered not one, not two, but *3 shots of top-shelf tequila. And honey, she wasn't sharing. Now, you might be wondering, how many shots can one Hollywood icon handle? Strap in, because Demi was about to school everyone on how it's done. She knocked back those shots like they were nothing more than water after a hot yoga session. 1, 2, 3, gone in 60 seconds. The bartender was shook, looking at Demi like she'd just performed a magic trick. But our girl wasn't stopping there. Oh no, Demi was just getting warmed up. She started mixing it up, ordering drinks that would make a college frat boy think twice. We're talking Long Island iced teas, zombies, and something the bartender whipped up just for her called Demi's Inferno. And trust me, it looked like it could fuel a rocket ship. This wasn't some light beer sipping session. Demi was going *card*, like it was her last night on Earth. Next voice, next voice. The crowd around the bar was growing, all eyes on Demi as she worked her way through the cocktail menu. People started whispering, then talking, then straight up chanting her name. Demi. 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 It was like being at a rock concert, except the star was behind the bar instead of on stage. And Demi? She was loving it, blowing kisses and raising her glass to her adoring fans. Just when you thought things couldn't get any wilder, Demi decided to kick it up a notch. She hopped up on the bar, in heels, mind you, and declared she was ready to take on all challengers in a drinking game. The crowd went absolutely nuts. People were pushing and shoving to get a spot at the bar. It was like Black Friday, but instead of flat-screen TVs, everyone was fighting for a chance to outdrink Demi Moore. Now, here's where it gets really juicy. You won't believe who stepped up to challenge her. None other than Leonardo DiCaprio himself. That's right. The Wolf of Wall Street was ready to go shot for shot with G.I. Jane . The tension was thicker than LA smog as everyone held their breath, wondering who would come out on top.
All over the blogs. On top of that, it's not even like on the low, so people are watching what he does. I mean, the thing is this, if he, in the end of the day, it's not like Puff is going to be his best friend and he has to take one for the team. Everyone is looking out for themselves. So I'm not telling him to snitch, because in the end of the day, if he did something wrong, then he has to do his time for that, right? So you did something, you were selling drugs, then that's what happened. But I don't know if he necessarily has to snitch on Diddy. I don't know. Maybe that's just a part of it. I don't know how far he is, but he got caught with drugs. So you have to go to prison for drugs, you know?
Yeah. Do the time. If you do the crime, you got to do the time. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Then you can be rehabilitate and get it better. It's obviously what's key here. But do you think there's a version of this where someone like him snitches on Diddy, or do you think that whole group and circle is so tight and terrified that they won't do anything to go against him?
Well, the thing is this, now the feds have a lot of pressure on them to really make this case work or stick, right? So I don't know this man, but it seems he's a younger person, who was impressed, of course, being around Puff and all that. So it's probably not too hard to put a little bit fear into him as a Fed, right? And say, look, if you don't cooperate with you, you're going to do 20, 40 years. Same thing they did with me. They said it's 25 to life that I'm going to get. And they're trying to scare you, right? But in the end of the day, he just should talk to a lawyer and get advice from a lawyer, and then take one step at a time, and don't get just take everything what the feds say or trying to threaten him with. I don't say literally, maybe, I don't know, because sometimes it's better to just sit down real quick before you say anything, talk to a lawyer, and not do anything else, right? But sometimes, like I said, they tried the same with me. I didn't talk to them, I just said I want a lawyer.
But was that was really a loyalty in you, or was there honestly fear more outweighing the other?
No, again, I have dealt with different type of people, not a Puff. Some let's say a little bit different people, right? But which I would never snitch on, ever. So of course it was a fear, but at the same time, in that moment, I didn't even think if it's 20, 25 years. I'm thinking like, how can I get out of this? Because it just can't be happening to me. I was so naive, right? I'm like, there has to be a mistake. Why are they coming after me? I'm the little person, right? But in the end of the day, when I understood a little bit more how this works, the system, and how is a favor for a favor, and people know each other, I had to play that for the best of my part, right? I mean, what do they want from me, and what do I don't want to give them, you know? It's a difficult question, but I'm just saying, if you get involved in something like this, you have to count on the fact that you will go down one day and you have to do time, or worse, you might not survive. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about not surviving. I hope we're trying to get in touch with Gene. Maybe you can help us connect. I know he's got a lot, but speaking of not surviving, there have been so many allegations regarding connections to Diddy's involvement with the death of Biggie and Tupac and others, the shooting with Shine. Do you think those rumors are fair? Do you think there's potential that Diddy was more involved in, those situations than he claims to be?
Well, I mean, Gene is a whole lot more knowledgeable in that, and he's a good friend of mine. So he is around there. He knows all these things, and in the end of the day, it's been rumored for a very long time, right? I mean, we talk about this is now almost 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. Yeah. So it's almost 30 years ago soon, and Keefe D, I think, got arrested for something, and then he said some sort of story, but he was on the pressure as well from the feds. I think somehow different people were involved, but that's just, again, I wasn't there. I would say Gene is the better person to talk about it, because he has just more knowledge of it. I don't want to say something that is not really true, but I think he is involved, because in the end of the day, how much money did he make when Biggie died? I think it was 600 million. With all the music that came out after that. And he always contribute, because he wanted to leave, I think, the night in LA. He's supposed to be in England, then he didn't go there. There was beef in LA. Why would you go out there like that? It was all a little bit fishy and weird, So I hope everything will be solved, but maybe we will never know,
Well, I can't imagine some of these people involved aren't watching these interviews. They got to be nervous about everything coming out. Any final thoughts or things you want to say to Diddy or that crew while you're here?
No, I just think karma goes around, comes around, and obviously I did my time, and I deserved that. I had to do that time, which is fine. It gave me a lot of life experience. But for everyone, even very influential people, they're not God. One day they have to answer to God, and maybe that's just the time for them to go that way. That now is their time that they are going down.
Let me tell you, it was a showdown for the ages. Shots were poured, glasses clinked, and the crowd counted down each round. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, floor. But not for Demi. While Leo was starting to look a little green around the gills, our girl was still going strong, tossing them back like a pro. In the end, it wasn't even close. Demi left Leo in the dust, proving she's not just a pretty face. She's got a liver of steel. As the dust settled and Leo stumbled off to lick his wounds, Demi stood triumphant on the bar, arms raised like Rocky Balboa. The crowd was losing it, chanting her name louder than ever. But don't think for a second this was the end of Demi's wild night. Oh no, honey. This party was far from over, and Demi was just hitting her stride. Stay tuned, because what happens next is going to make everything so far look like a warm-up act.
Diddy always been the type of individual that wanted to have ups on the next person no matter what they was doing. Like, he always played artists against each other. He did it to Big, he did it to Craig Mack. You understand? I said before, he did the stuff to Ja Rule, you know what I'm saying? So had the ups on Ja Rule so he could go after Jay-Z. You understand what I'm saying? So he always played those kind of up games on people. So to have those cameras and know what he was doing, it's gonna give him the ups on everybody who came to that party. Even your favorite basketball player. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. We know who said that. He may be one of the persons got caught up in the Diddy party.
LeBron said that, but yeah, you might be right. It sounds like he had all them hidden cameras to use it against people.
I think that was said in the indictment, right? That was said in the indictment. You know, somebody, I think Dawn may have said that. I don't know for sure. And correct me if I'm wrong. He would, even if you didn't want to do something, he would tell the individual, well, I got you on tape doing it before. And the person would feel pressured in having to do something or come and do something at the party or be at the party because he already had him on tape right then and there. But what you think when you do it the second time? He's still gonna have you on tape. Those tapes is the one who's killing, because people don't understand this. Little Rod, he's taping for Diddy in some occasions. When he wrote his indictment up, no, when he wrote his when his lawyer wrote up his briefs and submitted it, he must have had some kind of, he must have been a prosecutor somewhere or something like that, because he wrote it up like it was an indictment. You understand? Saying all the stuff that had happened. Then people don't understand this. After he wrote it up and he had the tapes and everything, they sent that to the feds. The feds opened up a case on that. Everybody think it's happened. Oh, the feds looked at Cassie getting beaten, and then they just opened up a case. Nah. I think it was more so Lil Rob and them sending the feds that information. They put in a civil suit, then sent the other stuff over to the feds, and it read like an indictment. So they had to look at it because they see some crimes that was committed in that. And lo and behold, they do a raid on the house. So, to get back to your question, all the footage and everything that they have is going to either help, it's going to help them get some more people or get enough people just to hang Diddy.
Hold up, hold up. You thought Demi was going to call it a night after that drinking game? Girl, you don't know Demi. As the party started winding down, our girl was gearing up for a asterisk grand finale asterisk that left everyone absolutely shook. The tea is about to be spilled, and it is asterisk scalding asterisk Demi saved the best for last, and honey, I am living for it. Just when folks thought it was time to gather their things and start looking for their Ubers, Demi had asterisk other plans asterisk. She disappeared for a hot minute, and when she returned, it was like she'd stepped out of an entirely different dimension. Let me break down this outfit change for you because it was asterisk a look asterisk Demi strutted back into that party wearing a skin-tight, sparkling jumpsuit that looked like it was painted on with liquid diamonds. It was giving disco ball meets superheroine, and baby, she was asterisk serving asterisk. Her hair was now up in a high ponytail that swung like a whip with every move, and her makeup? Oh, she cranked it up to 11. Smoky eyes that could kill, and lips redder than the devil's pitchfork. The second Demi reappeared, it was like someone had hit the reset button on the entire party. People who were halfway out the door came rushing back in. Phones were in the air faster than you could say. Instagram story. And the energy went from last call to asterisk the night is young asterisk in about 2 seconds flat. And our girl? She wasted no time. Demi marched straight up to the DJ booth, whispered something in his ear, and then grabbed the mic. The crowd was on pins and needles, waiting to see what Demi had up her bedazzled sleeve. And then, the beat dropped. Girl, let me tell you, asterisk nobody asterisk was ready for what happened next.
TMZ is reporting that at least 2 new people plan to cooperate with the feds, and they're willing to testify in front of the grand jury.
All right, join us now with the details. Charles Latabaudier, TMZ executive producer. Charles, thanks so much for being here with us. Obviously, it's been a very busy week in this case. What's the latest with the investigation?
Yes, Steve and Bianca, as U.S. Attorney Damian Williams promised earlier this week, he said this is an ongoing investigation and that they will be speaking to more people. We found out that these two individuals, and we have actually spoken to one of them. They are both sex workers, currently sex workers. One of them says that they had an interaction with Diddy in 2014, and they are willing to tell the feds what they know about that interaction. And another one said that they are willing, and not only willing, but have been subpoenaed to go before the grand jury. So the second person could end up going before the grand jury. At this stage, they are just going to be interviewed by prosecutors. Clearly, they're trying to figure out what these other witnesses know and how they can help them convict Diddy, and that's the name of the game at this point for the feds.
Yeah.
The question is if there is going to be a jury, because yesterday you reported that a former warden had a warning for Diddy that he should watch his back in prison.
Yeah, look, this is, he's going to be in this at Brooklyn, MDC Brooklyn. Who knows? It could be up to a year before this trial begins. And obviously, they're going to be, his attorneys have said that they're going to try to get him moved to a different facility. But for now, he's in there. And what we've been told by a former warden is he's a target. That's the fact of the matter, and that's why they have him in a solitary part of the jail, because they don't, he becomes a target because it's like what we've been told, it's like a badge of honor that if you were able to inflict some violence on Diddy, that gets you score points with other inmates. So that's a situation that obviously the jail officials do not want to happen, so they're going out of the way to make sure that doesn't happen. He is in a really, can you imagine like the lap of luxury that Diddy's been used to for decades now, and then just like that, he is now in this jail, and unless they can get him bail at some point, he's going to be behind bars for a long time.
And just briefly, what's going on behind the scenes in Hollywood? All these people who partied with him, who might be on these hidden tapes. What level of panic are you hearing from all these people we know who associated with him over the years?
I will tell you, Steve, we are not hearing any panic, because no one, and this has been true since the raids, really, nobody who we know, people who we know Diddy. We've seen them at his parties, and I'm not talking about the freak-offs. I mean, we haven't seen any of that video, though. Remember, the feds say they do have video that they seized during the raids from those freak-offs, so they know who the celebrities are, if there are any involved in the freak-offs. But we've seen plenty of video over the years of Diddy's very public parties, and all of those people, they're not saying anything. They haven't for months. And yes, to your point, there certainly got to be people who are nervous about getting a call from the U.S. Attorney's Office, whether it be to come in as a witness, whether it be just to be interviewed to find out what they know, or go before the grand jury, which is something nobody wants to do. They all want to be away from this case as much as possible.
I feel like we're certainly just scratching the surface on this case. Let's talk about something else happening right now. You're reporting today that Lady Gaga's dad just endorsed Trump, calling him pure and a patriot. Was this surprising to you as you guys were talking about this today?
It was definitely surprising. Joe Germanata, or as we've been calling him here in the office, Daddy Gaga, went on Fox and Friends this morning and very full-throatedly endorsed former President Trump and spoke about why he is endorsing him. He acknowledged that, in his word, the word he used was, he acknowledged that Trump is abrasive, but he just prefers his policies. He said, I'm not voting for a person, I'm voting for the policy. And he felt like New York has gone downhill while Joe Biden was in the White House, and he thinks that Trump should be back there. You can tell he is not comfortable with some of the things that Trump says or does, but it's about policy for him. It was weird because we all know that Lady Gaga is very liberal, and while she has not endorsed Kamala Harris yet, she did full-heartedly endorse Joe Biden, and we're expecting at some point she will do that for Harris and Waltz.
Yeah, as of right now, I think all she's done is like the post from Taylor Swift or whatever.
The family dinners are going to get interesting with that.
Demi Moore, Hollywood icon, started belting out asterisk I will survive asterisk like her life depended on it. But this wasn't some casual karaoke night. Demi was giving us vocals, choreography, and more attitude than an episode of asterisk RuPaul's Drag Race asterisk. She was hitting high notes that would make Mariah Carey do a double take, and the crowd. They were losing it, singing along and dancing like crazy. A-listers who usually played it cool were shouting the lyrics at the top of their lungs. But Demi wasn't done, not even close. Mid-song, she whipped out moves that would put J.Lo to shame. She was spinning, dipping, body rolling like a seasoned pro. At one point, she even dropped into a split that had people gasping. I swear, I saw Diddy himself standing there, jaw on the floor. As the song reached its climax, Demi hit us with the surprise of the century. She ripped off her jumpsuit. Don't worry, she had another outfit underneath, revealing a t-shirt that read, "I survived Diddy's party" in big glittery letters. The crowd went absolutely wild. People were screaming, cheering, probably shedding a few tears. And then, just like that, Demi dropped the mic, literally. She let it fall, gave the crowd a wink, and strutted off the stage like she owned the place. And honey, after that performance, she did. As the sun started peeking through the windows, the party was still buzzing. People couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. The tea was piping hot, and everyone was guzzling it down. Demi Moore had just cemented her status as the ultimate party queen, and the streets were talking. This night was going down in Hollywood history, and we were all blessed to witness it.
It's all about the money. Make a lot of people upset, but then a lot of people love my opinion. That's why you bring me on here. And I really appreciate that, brother. I just want to say this before we get started, Art, is that, a lot of people think I came here to bring a black man down. And that's what I hear in the comments a whole lot. But it was nothing like that. A black man didn't cuss a dead man's mother out. A black man didn't set his friends up and put them in a situation where they couldn't come home to their families no more. A black man didn't reach back and help the people that helped them make it up the ladder. It was Puffy. You know what I'm saying? I got tired of Puffy going on different platforms talking about how he loved the people that we was all with, how he loved the people that helped him, when in fact, none of that stuff was true. So my whole thing about it is, man, I appreciate your platform for letting me, voice my opinion. And like I said, opinions like an asshole. Some of these cats out here get paid for their asshole. I get paid to give my opinion.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, yeah, you just on here giving your opinion, man. I mean, you was one of the people that was real close to the situation, so why not?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So with that being said, right, the last interview me and you did was a day after the raid. And when you look at everything now, man, how you feel about everything? It's been like a week, you knowing Diddy, you being around Diddy. Could you ever imagine that his houses would get raided for sex trafficking?
Bruh, you can't imagine no stuff like that. You understand? You can't think that, because back then, he wasn't Brother Love. He was Puffy. All the way up until he became Diddy. So his behavior over the years has changed. And the behavior that he shows now, and that he has shown by being Brother Love, I couldn't imagine that the police would be raiding him for sex trafficking? Nah, bruh. I couldn't imagine that. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't him back then. He's a totally different person that he became. If you've seen him on other platforms, inviting men to party with him, inviting men to go shopping with him. You understand? That wasn't Puffy. That wasn't Diddy. That was Brother Love and Love.
Girl, you thought the tea was hot before. Let me tell you how Demi left that party. As the sun came up, our queen sashayed out like it was a red carpet, blowing kisses and winking at the paparazzi. But here's the kicker. She hopped into a waiting helicopter. That's right. Demi Moore took off into the sunrise like a boss. The streets are buzzing, honey. Word is, this wild night might be Demi's comeback moment. Producers are already blowing up her phone, talking about reality shows and dance competitions. Demi Moore, party animal extraordinaire? I'm here for it. But if you thought this was the end of the story, think again. I hear there's more tea brewing, and it's so hot it might just set Hollywood on fire. Stay tuned, because Demi is just getting started.